Yeah, I should, that's what I was thinking, I should shift them so they're all,
Got everybody?
yeah.
It's 4 p.m. on Monday, May 12th, 2025, and I'm going to call this City Council study session to order. This is a study session, so there's no public comment, and if Councilmember Peretti would lead us in the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So for the record, I'll note that all council is here with the exception of Councilmember Cedar. And then for staff, we have Planning Manager Stallnecker, Director Madden, Interim Director Robeck, Chief Hernandez, and City Clerk, HR Manager Tricia Summers. So I'll start tonight off with the proclamation. We have one more next week, but this week is for Police Appreciation Week. This week is hereby proclaimed the week of May 11th through May 17th, 2025 as Police Appreciation Week. It's issued as this recognition as a true expression of appreciation and a symbol of gratitude for the exceptional quality of public service provided by our police department as they continue to dedicate themselves to keeping our citizens and communities safe. So I think it's no surprise that not only myself and council, but this entire community appreciates our police department. So thank you. I'm not going to give you a chance to speak. We'll be here all night. You can... Council, we have two items this evening on our study session. The first one is on page 5 of your packet. It is the first quarter 2025 financial report, and I'm going to turn the floor over to Interim Director Robeck.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We'll be presenting the first quarter report fund by fund as usual, but please let me know if you have any questions or need any additional information as we go along. The baseline activity in the operations funds is 25% of budgeted amounts, and we'll be addressing any significant variances from this target as the funds are presented. Starting with the general fund on page 7, general fund revenues are a little lower than budget at 21.4%. This is primarily due to lower taxes and fines and forfeitures. Revenues in nearly all tax categories are above 25%, with the exception of property taxes. Property taxes received in April and May, however, will bring this category to anticipated amounts. Fines and forfeitures are higher than the previous year, but lower than budget due to the photo enforcement program. Once this program starts generating revenue, this category will increase as well. Licenses and permits, however, are higher than budget at 57.8%, with better than expected building permit revenue as a result of a few large developer permit payments. General fund expenditures are also a little lower than budget at 24.8%. Administration and finance and facilities are negative amounts due to the indirect cost allocation. These categories will likely change to positive amounts as the year progresses. Judicial expenditures are higher than budget at 60.3% as a result of the annual payment to the City of Puyallup for municipal court services being billed and paid earlier than in previous years. Other admin and personnel is higher due to the annual workers' comp retro program membership fee. Other central services is higher due to annual expenditures, including insurance, memberships, and dues. As a result, this category should not increase much more as the year progresses. Non-expenditures is higher than budget primarily due to timing issues. This category contains several clearing accounts with expenditures distributed throughout the year. Does anyone have any questions on anything in the general fund? Councilmember Strader?
You said there were some significant projects that were for licensing. What are those projects, those developments?
Development projects.
Yeah.
For the category that I indicated, both of the larger payments were for the church.
Oh, well, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then I'm going to move on to the Asset Replacement Fund on page 8. There is not much activity in this fund. Revenues are slightly higher than budget at 26.5% and include interest, sales of vehicles, and budgeted transfers in from the general fund. Moving on to the Street Fund on page 9. The Street Fund looks good with revenues at 24% and expenditures at 20.5%. Revenues are slightly below budget, primarily due to slightly lower than expected motor vehicle fuel taxes. The Rainy Day Fund on page 10. There's not much activity in this fund. Revenues are slightly higher than budget at 26.8% and include interest and budgeted transfers in from the general fund. Moving on to the Drug Seizure Fund on page 11. There's not much activity in this fund, so I have no comments. The Criminal Justice Fund on page 12. The Criminal Justice Fund looks good with revenues at 25% and expenditures at 24.8%. Animal control services are higher than budget at 37.6% due to the annual previous year true-up payment to the City of Sumner for Metro Animal Services. Moving on to the Community Events Fund on page 13. There's currently not much activity in this fund, so I have no comments on that one either. The Real Estate Excise Tax Funds on page 14 and 15. Revenues in the REIT funds are currently below budget at 10%. However, tax revenues are increasing and have grown to approximately $45,000 to date for each of these funds. The Traffic Impact Fee Fund on page 16. This fund looks good, with revenues already surpassing annual budget amounts due to a few large development payments. The Parks Impact Fee Fund on page 17. These revenues are currently lower than budget at 19.4%, but it's still early in the year with time for additional fees to be received. Next up is the Capital Improvement Fund on page 18. This fund looks good with over $2 million in TIB grant revenues received for the SR 99 Porter Way project. Larger expenditures in the fund to date include expenditures for the SR 99 and Porter Way intersection improvements projects and the Community Park Outdoor Meeting Venue project. The Electric Utility Fund on page 19. This fund looks good with revenues at 30.7% and expenditures at 20.6%. Administration expenditures are slightly higher than budget as a result of the annual insurance payment, and interfund transfers are higher than budget due to higher revenues. The Electric Capital Improvement Fund on page 20. There's currently not much activity in this fund, but the largest expenditures to date are for tree trimming and the pole replacement project. Next up is the Water Utility Fund on page 21. This fund looks good as well, with revenues at 23.5% and expenditures at 18.1%. Revenues are slightly below budget, but still exceeding revenues for the previous year. And administration expenditures in this fund are slightly higher than budget as well at 26.5%, also a result of the annual insurance payment. Next up is the Water Capital Improvement Fund on page 22. There's not currently much activity in this fund. Revenues do look good at 33.2%, with higher than anticipated capital contributions or system development charges. The largest expenditures to date are for the new deep well and Porter Way water main improvements projects. The Water Asset Replacement Fund on page 23. There's currently not much activity in this fund, so I have no additional comments. The Stormwater Utility Fund on page 24. This fund looks good with revenues at 26.6% and expenditures at 18%. Interfund transfers are slightly higher than budget at 27.4% due to higher revenues. Next up is the Stormwater Capital Improvement Fund. There's currently not much activity in this fund, but expenditures to date are for the citywide ditch and culvert project and the invasive plant species removal projects. Next is the Stormwater Asset Replacement. Not much activity in that fund either, so I have no comments. The Electric Asset Replacement Fund on page 27. This fund looks good with revenues at 31.4%, and expenditures include the purchase of a new transformer. The Vehicle Repair and Maintenance Fund on page 28. Expenditures in this fund are below budget at 19.6% and are very similar to the previous year. Revenues in this fund are based on internal work orders. The Finance Department does have many of these work orders to be calculated and entered, so you will see revenues increase as the year progresses. And lastly, the Information Technology Fund on page 29. Expenditures in this fund are slightly above budget at 35.5%. This is primarily due to some equipment replacement purchases and annual payments for renewals of licenses and subscriptions. Revenues in this fund are based on cost allocations and posted to the fund in equal amounts each month. Does anyone have any questions on any of the funds or need additional information?
Okay, thank you. Council, the next item this evening is on page 31 of the packet. It is a franchise agreement with Hyperfiber LLC for fiber optic high-speed internet services. I'm going to turn the floor over to Director Madden.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The item before you tonight is a discussion item for a new franchise that is seeking approval with the City of Milton. Hyperfiber LLC, they provide fiber, high optic speed internet services. They've submitted the application for the franchise agreement, and they're planning to explore opportunities along the I-5 corridor. Pursuant to RCW 35A 47.040, the City Council has the authority to grant franchise agreements for the use of its public streets and other right-of-ways. This agreement does not grant Hyperfiber LLC the authority to commence any work within the city. That would be done through a separate effort, but this allows them a franchise agreement with the City of Milton based on our telecommunication agreement. And I will say that legal has reviewed this contract and has approved it. We will be seeing 2 additional fiber franchise agreements come forth in June, so we are getting some interest in the City of Milton. Hyperfiber is the first. Any questions or concerns with this franchise agreement?
Councilmember Hall?
Can you clarify, so they're looking
to perform their due diligence. A franchise agreement is the first step in that, so they can come out, they can put forth some street work permits to investigate, see where there are gaps in the system, and see if they would like to invest in Milton's fiber network.
and is that on their, do we have to contribute anything to that, or they do that?
We do not. We have a retainer of $3,000.
I see that, yeah.
Yep, and that will allow the city to recoup any billable costs to perform any investigation or assist them with this franchise agreement.
And then other companies can come in as well to do the same thing?
Correct.
Okay. And would we allow more than one, or would it just be one?
We would allow more than one.
You can, okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Strader?
Have they indicated where they would put these fiber optic lines, or was that on one of the pages here? Are we looking at serving the whole city, or is it going to be wherever they feel they're going to make the most money?
They are currently investigating our King County portion of the city limits. And the last attachment, page, let's see, 85 of 85, shows the potential area that they would be bringing the fiber optics into the city. We are looking at all of our street patching requirements, and we're getting those, I guess, in shape to recoup any disturbance that we may have, the city may have to its streets regarding this fiber.
You're talking about like they have to tear up a street to put a line in, that kind of thing?
Yep.
Okay. And I take it they've already invested up in King County then, and they're just expanding their service
does not
into Pierce County?
Yeah, it looks like they are seeking franchise agreements with some of our counterparts in King County along the I-5 corridor. I have not seen any physical assets in the ground with this agency.
And currently, we have no fiber optics in the city, is that correct?
That, we have an agreement with Comcast as far as what that fiber optic build out is. I can do some investigation on that and bring that back to council when we have.
Currently, you don't know of any fiber optic service that's in the city right now, is that correct?
That is correct. I don't have awareness of any fiber optic that is currently running through.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, hold on, let Mayor Pro Tem go first.
So you said that you have two other providers. Who are they?
They are Easy Fiber, and there's one other one. They're both out of the East Coast. But one already has franchise agreements with Algona, Auburn, Kent. And so they're in the area.
Okay. Would that, do you see any advantage at this point do you lean toward one over the other?
No, I don't see any advantage to this point. And the council has an MMC 12.05.080, which kind of outlines council's responsibility. And if we were to decline a franchise application, there are 12 items here that they would have to meet one of those criteria. We did not see that they met any of those criterias. Yes.
No. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Peretti?
Thank you for actually sharing with us. I'm happy to see this happen. I think one thing the city of Milton, maybe some residents realize, but we have a Comcast situation here in Milton that has been problematic. And I've heard from a lot of residents, and even myself have had multiple calls into Comcast in the last year because of their failing system that they have here. And one of the things that we're really behind in the 21st century is we have not opened up to allow other competitors to come into this city and provide fiber, whatever the services that we need here. And this is one of the first steps we need to do, because we need to get the fiber backbone of it, even if it's high speed wireless that's feeding off of the OC3 network that's running down I-5. We need to get on board with it. Other cities are so far ahead of us right now than what Milton is, and we're paying the price for it. And I think it's terrible how much we pay for Xfinity, Comcast services in the city of Milton and the type of service that we get here. It's terrible. And we need to be looking for this to bring other competitors into our city. And so I'm really glad to see this happen.
Thank you.
Any other questions before I let Councilmember Whalen?
I just want to mention, you've addressed a lot of things that I was going to talk about: competition, about what our opportunities could be, what advancements could take place. And this is a very good process to find out what's available, how they'll do it, what the costs are, and so forth. Not be subject to a sole provider, which primarily in the town it's Comcast. I think they treat us the way they want to, not the way we deserve.
Director Madden, are the other two franchise agreements willing to come into the Pierce County side, or are they looking just for King County as well? Do you know off the top of your head?
The maps that I've seen in their application indicated that they would be citywide.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Director Madden?
Mine were answered.
Yours was answered? Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to bring back this to council next week?
Correct.
Yes, okay.
For approval.
Okay, so if you think of any questions between now and then, just reach out, and then we'll bring it back for approval on Monday. Okay. Well, seeing that we concluded all of our items already this evening, I will adjourn this meeting at 4:20 PM.